The breaking news, evacuations underway right now ahead of a direct impact in Florida from Hurricane Milton. Right now, it is a Category 4 storm out in the Gulf. It's gaining strength ahead of expected landfall tomorrow night.
Imagine this. Elon Musk steps onto a stage and makes a shocking claim. I have proof the US government is controlling Hurricane Milton. The statement is bold, brazen, and quickly ignites a firestorm of debates, conspiracies, and speculation. What does Musk mean by controlling a hurricane? Could a figure as influential as Musk actually have evidence of such a massive secret? The audience is stunned, media channels explode with coverage, and people around the world are left questioning if it's even possible. After all, controlling the weather sounds more like something out of a sci-fi movie than reality. But Musk's words carry weight, and when he speaks, the world listens. It's easy to dismiss his claim as outlandish, yet history shows us there may be more to this story than meets the eye. So what could Musk know that we don't? And why is he suddenly taking aim at the US government with a claim this extraordinary? Before diving into his alleged proof, let's look back at what history has to say about weather manipulation. A history of weather manipulation. Weather manipulation sounds like a 21st century concept, but attempts to control the skies actually go back decades. Take for instance Operation Popeye during the Vietnam War, a now declassified military program that aimed to extend monsoon rains over enemy territories by cloud seeding. This technique involved dispersing silver iodide into clouds to increase rainfall, creating prolonged wet seasons over enemy supply routes. This wasn't just a test. Operation Popeye ran for 5 years, disrupting enemy movements and causing widespread flooding. Although crude compared to today's technology, Operation Popeye was a powerful demonstration that governments were interested in harnessing nature as a strategic tool. This set a historical precedent for the idea of weather warfare, an early example of turning weather into a tactical advantage. Fast forward to today, and we see that weather modification hasn't disappeared. It's simply taken on new forms. Cloud seeding is still used in various parts of the world, though now often framed as a solution for drought relief rather than warfare. However, knowing that governments have once tried to control weather for tactical reasons makes Musk's claim about Hurricane Milton that much harder to ignore. So what about now? Could modern technology have pushed weather manipulation from basic rain enhancement to full-blown hurricane control? That brings us to the most significant piece of modern weather technology, the next generation weather radar system. And according to Musk and his supporters, this might be more than just a forecasting tool. Government and the Next Generation Weather Radar System. The Next Generation Weather Radar System, or Nexrad, is a marvel of technology. Managed by organizations like the National Weather Service and the Department of Defense, Nexrad includes over 160 Doppler radar stations across the United States, all collecting real-time data on weather patterns, precipitation, and storm formation. To meteorologists, this system is invaluable, offering precise data that can predict severe weather events like tornadoes and hurricanes with remarkable accuracy. However, some believe there's more to Nexrad than meets the eye. Officially, it's a tracking tool designed to help the country prepare for severe weather events. But could it also be used to modify those same events? That's the theory Musk seems to be entertaining. He suggests that this system, under specific conditions, could emit targeted frequencies capable of influencing weather patterns. Imagine if a radar system that can track a storm also had the potential to alter its course. Imagine if the very Doppler technology designed to detect storms could also modify them. Supporters of Musk's claim argue that, in theory, the Nexrad network could be synchronized to emit certain frequencies, creating shifts in air masses and storm paths. While this sounds like science fiction, it isn't entirely outside the realm of possibility. For now, Musk hasn't shared the details of his alleged proof, but even the mention of Nexrad in connection with weather manipulation has raised eyebrows. And it's not just Musk. Many others have long speculated that radar systems like Nexrad could serve a dual purpose: public weather tracking and covert weather modification. Conspiracy or science? The role of technology. So, what's the science behind Musk's claim? To understand, we have to look at the technology that drives Nexrad and other modern radar systems. At its core, Nexrad uses Doppler radar to measure the movement and speed of precipitation particles, allowing meteorologists to detect rotation within a storm. It's this rotational data that helps predict tornadoes and hurricanes, giving forecasters a powerful tool to issue warnings ahead of time. But Doppler radar doesn't only detect, it also emits signals. These signals, which travel as radio waves, interact with precipitation particles, helping scientists map out the structure of a storm. The question Musk and others raise is this: could these emissions be manipulated to achieve more than just tracking? Could they influence the storm itself? Some advocates of weather manipulation theories believe that the frequencies emitted by radar systems could theoretically impact the formation and direction of storms. In essence, they argue that by emitting specific frequencies, it might be possible to repel or attract storm masses. It sounds fantastical, but as technology evolves, it becomes increasingly difficult to dismiss the idea outright. Consider the HARP program, a real research initiative by the US Air Force and Navy focused on ionospheric manipulation. While its official purpose is scientific, exploring how ionosphere modifications could improve communications, conspiracy theorists have long speculated that HAARP could also influence weather patterns. The technology isn't as unrelated as it sounds. It's another instance of the government experimenting with atmosphere-affecting technology under the radar. So could Nexrad's Doppler capabilities be altered to impact weather? Musk's claims are radical, yet grounded in a blend of science and speculation that makes it hard to look away. As we venture further down this rabbit hole, the idea of Hurricane Milton as a controlled event becomes a narrative filled with questions. Could Musk be onto something, or is he playing into age-old conspiracies? Next part will take us deeper, exploring the idea of frequency manipulation and the strange phenomenon of blue flashes supposedly linked to radar interference. Evidence of technological capabilities. If Elon Musk's claims hold any truth, then the technology to control weather patterns must be more advanced than we've been led to believe. In recent years, scientific strides in fields like cloud seeding and atmospheric manipulation have shown that influencing weather is at least theoretically possible. But to fully control a hurricane, that's a leap that requires serious technological capability, and some believe the United States has it. Cloud seeding, for instance, has been around since the 1940s, and it's still in use today. The basic principle is simple. By dispersing silver iodide into the atmosphere, you can stimulate clouds to produce rain. It's a technique primarily used to relieve droughts or reduce hail damage, but it shows that we already have the ability to influence precipitation. If cloud seeding can alter rain, what's stopping further advancements from affecting larger weather events? Musk and others hint at something more advanced, like manipulating air masses directly. This theory suggests that if we could control the atmospheric elements around a storm, like pressure systems or air currents, then guiding a storm like Hurricane Milton wouldn't be impossible. But the leap from cloud seeding to storm control requires technology capable of influencing large-scale air movements. Enter the next-generation weather radar system, where Doppler radar emissions could potentially play a role. And Musk isn't the only one asking questions about its potential uses. The claims of the blue flash. One of the most talked about phenomena in the world of weather manipulation theories is the so-called blue flash. Supporters of the theory believe these flashes, brief circular bursts of blue light seen in the sky near radar installations, might be tied to attempts at manipulating storm paths. These strange flashes, captured on video by curious bystanders and conspiracy enthusiasts alike, have been reported near radar stations and have fueled speculation that something unusual is happening. But what could cause these blue flashes? Some claim that certain frequency emissions from radar stations can create visual anomalies in the atmosphere, resulting in a visible flash of blue light. In the context of weather manipulation, theorists suggest these specific frequencies are designed to influence air masses around a storm, potentially redirecting or weakening it. Imagine this: a network of radar stations emitting coordinated frequencies in an attempt to modify a storm's trajectory. While we're far from scientific proof, the theory suggests that the blue flashes are byproducts of frequency transmission strong enough to visually impact the atmosphere. It's not so different from how auroras are created by solar particles interacting with Earth's magnetic field, except in this case, it's believed to be artificial. While the blue flash theory may sound outlandish, some people argue it's just another piece of evidence in Musk's growing case. Supporters claim that when these flashes appear near a hurricane, they may indicate attempts at weather modification. But is this really a technological marvel or just a natural anomaly? Either way, the blue flash concept adds an intriguing, almost sci-fi layer to the theory that Hurricane Milton was guided. Centralized control and synchronization. For weather manipulation on the scale Musk describes, the real power lies in synchronization, coordinated efforts across a network of stations like Nexrad. Imagine a system where multiple radar installations, strategically placed across the nation, work together to influence weather patterns. Proponents of the theory argue that such synchronization could theoretically alter storm behavior, guiding it along a predetermined path. One element of centralized control that theorists point to is the potential for frequency synchronization across radar systems. By adjusting frequencies in real time across multiple stations, radar networks might be able to push or pull weather systems in specific directions. It sounds fantastical, but the ability to control and synchronize radar activity could serve purposes beyond standard meteorological tracking. The notion of centralized control also raises questions about intent. If such technology exists, who would be overseeing it, and to what end? Some believe that government agencies could be coordinating these activities with precise goals, perhaps to avoid damage to politically significant areas, or, as some conspiracy theorists suggest, to specifically target certain regions. To Musk's supporters, the coordinated use of radar networks to potentially influence storms like Hurricane Milton would require only a few key decisions in a centralized control system. This ability to manage and direct weather events suggests a scenario where hurricanes could be steered away from or toward particular locations, depending on strategic interests. As Musk's theory gains traction, the focus on centralized radar control systems has become a central aspect of the broader narrative surrounding Hurricane Milton. Military applications and modern weather warfare. If the idea of weather control seems far-fetched, it's worth noting that weather manipulation has a long history in military applications. In fact, the US government has explored weather control as a means of gaining strategic advantage since the Vietnam War. And while programs like Operation Popeye were aimed at rain enhancement, the military's interest in weather as a tactical tool has never entirely disappeared. Consider the High-Frequency Active Auroral Research Program, HAARP, a research initiative focused on studying the ionosphere. Although HAARP's official purpose was to explore atmospheric science, conspiracy theorists have speculated that it also allowed for limited control over weather patterns. HAARP became the focus of countless theories, with some alleging it could influence storm formation or disrupt air currents. While the US government has always maintained that HAARP was purely for research, Musk's claim revives these discussions, especially in the context of modern radar technology. Could Nexrad be used in a similar manner, not just to detect storms, but to influence them? In the context of Musk's statement, this isn't just about radar, it's about the idea of using technology as a form of modern weather warfare. The implication here is powerful. If the US government has indeed developed technology capable of controlling weather patterns, it could fundamentally change the nature of warfare. Imagine a scenario where hurricanes or other natural disasters are deliberately directed as part of a military strategy. While this may sound like the plot of a thriller, Musk's claim pushes the boundaries of what we think we know about government capabilities. So could Hurricane Milton be an example of modern weather warfare, a demonstration of technology designed to influence natural disasters? With Musk now at the center of this conversation, questions about the government's role in weather manipulation aren't going away anytime soon. In the next part, we'll dive into the motives behind these alleged manipulations, examining the political, economic, and strategic interests that might drive a government to harness such capabilities. Why create a hurricane? Political motivations. If the government does have the capability to influence weather patterns, the immediate question becomes, why? What could possibly motivate someone to control a hurricane? According to proponents of Musk's theory, the answer may lie in political strategy. Imagine the power to direct a hurricane toward or away from a specific area. In the world of conspiracy theories, this control over nature becomes a political weapon, an unseen force that could influence entire regions, and, by extension, entire elections. Consider Hurricane Milton, a storm that struck politically significant areas. Some theorists believe that by directing a storm towards specific regions, the government could disrupt daily life, economic activities, and even political engagement in areas with high political relevance. This isn't the first time a storm has spurred such theories. In fact, after Hurricane Helene, similar accusations emerged, claiming that the federal government targeted Republican-leaning counties to hinder voter turnout, with roads blocked, polling stations closed, and public attention diverted to recovery. These theories argue voter participation is disrupted, especially in politically crucial swing states. The mere possibility that a storm could be directed toward an area for political impact is enough to raise eyebrows. It's the perfect weapon, undetectable, uncontrollable, and completely deniable. If a powerful figure like Musk has found evidence that points to such manipulation, his accusations could imply that weather warfare isn't just a hypothetical threat, but a strategic advantage in the political arena. Financial and geopolitical interests. Beyond politics, there are economic and geopolitical motivations that could drive a government to tamper with natural disasters. In today's world, resources like water, land, and minerals are not just commodities. They're assets that underpin entire economies. Controlling weather could, in theory, serve as a tool to secure these resources or alter conditions in a way that benefits certain interests. Take, for instance, the theory that the US government manipulated Hurricane Helene to open up land in North Carolina for lithium mining. Lithium is a precious resource for powering electric vehicles, renewable energy storage, and countless other technologies. With demand for lithium skyrocketing, controlling a resource-rich region could yield substantial financial returns. According to conspiracy theorists, directing a storm to render areas uninhabitable or undesirable could allow companies and government agencies to gain access to valuable land at a fraction of the usual cost. Geopolitically, weather manipulation could also be a strategic maneuver. By influencing precipitation, for instance, a nation could strengthen its agricultural productivity while undermining neighboring countries. This isn't a new idea. Throughout history, controlling resources like water has been a powerful tactic for influencing geopolitical dynamics. Proponents argue that today's technology brings this power to a whole new level, allowing nations to shape the environment to meet economic and strategic goals. In Musk's case, he seems to imply that the government's hand in manipulating weather could have massive economic repercussions, from natural resources to agricultural yield. While concrete evidence remains to be seen, the theory hints at a global race where technological advancements in weather control could determine not just the wealth of a nation, but its very influence on the global stage. Plausible deniability and accountability loopholes. One of the most compelling aspects of Musk's claim lies in the concept of plausible deniability, the ability for officials to deny involvement or knowledge of controversial actions taken under their watch. If weather manipulation were indeed taking place, the government could always point to natural variability, claiming that any changes in weather are purely coincidental. Imagine a scenario where a government can employ non-governmental organizations, NGOs, or private contractors to conduct weather experiments, providing a convenient shield from public scrutiny. This structure allows government entities to work within a gray area where responsibility is diffused and accountability becomes murky. NGOs are legally permitted to research weather modification techniques, and the government's lack of direct involvement could allow officials to feign ignorance. This plausible deniability plays a powerful role in conspiracy theories surrounding Hurricane Milton. If Musk's allegations are true, they would require a coordinated but hidden network of agencies and organizations working together, yet operating within legal loopholes that let them deny any responsibility. Critics argue that this arrangement of outsourcing weather manipulation allows governments to dodge the accountability question, claiming they have no part in controversial actions. Even beyond NGOs, there are other methods for maintaining deniability. Subcontracted organizations, temporary research projects, and shadow contractors could all operate under government endorsement while keeping their activities off the official record. This possibility raises an important question. Could it be that the government has deliberately structured its approach to weather manipulation in such a way that public accountability becomes nearly impossible? If so, Musk's claims may carry more weight than initially thought. Voices of doubt and credibility challenges. Despite the layers of intrigue, not everyone is buying Musk's claims. In fact, critics have been quick to challenge his credibility on this topic, arguing that even the most advanced technology would struggle to control something as complex as a hurricane. Hurricanes are natural phenomena that arise from a delicate balance of temperature, humidity, and atmospheric pressure. The sheer power of these storms makes them difficult to alter, let alone control. Skeptics point out that while radar systems and weather manipulation techniques exist, using them to influence large-scale events like hurricanes is a different story. The scientific community remains largely doubtful that current technology could manage something as intricate as a hurricane's path. While cloud seeding might impact rainfall on a local level, the leap to hurricane control remains, in their view, a fantasy. Additionally, some argue that Musk's position as a tech CEO doesn't necessarily qualify him as an authority on meteorology or atmospheric science. The lack of verifiable evidence in Musk's claim has left many unconvinced, suggesting that without concrete data, this is just another conspiracy theory. But while doubt persists, others argue that Musk's position and access to government contracts and high-level information give his claim a unique degree of credibility. Musk's influence and intelligence community connections mean he may have access to classified information that the average person couldn't dream of. To his supporters, this isn't about convincing the skeptics. It's about getting the public to ask questions and consider the implications of a government potentially controlling the weather. In the next part, we'll take a step back to examine the bigger picture, considering the ethical implications of weather manipulation, the environmental risks, and the potential long-term consequences of tampering with natural forces on this scale. The environmental impact of weather manipulation. As the debate over weather manipulation unfolds, one of the most critical questions to consider is the impact of these actions on the environment. Nature operates in complex, interconnected ways, and even small changes in weather patterns can ripple through ecosystems, impacting plant and animal life in unforeseen ways. If the technology to control hurricanes exists, it could introduce environmental disruptions far beyond the immediate effects of a storm. Consider the possibility of shifting a hurricane's trajectory. On the surface, diverting a storm away from populated areas sounds like a win for humanity. But what happens to the areas that receive the redirected storm instead? Coastal ecosystems and marine habitats could be devastated, with species thrown into chaos by the sudden change in weather patterns. Coral reefs, already stressed by warming waters, could be further damaged by increased storm surges and currents. Fish populations might be scattered or forced into new habitats, disrupting local fisheries and economies that depend on them. Some environmental experts warned that manipulating large-scale weather systems could also have unintended consequences on climate patterns. Hurricanes play a natural role in distributing heat from the equator to higher latitudes, balancing global temperatures. Altering or delaying these patterns might upset this balance, potentially leading to increased droughts, unexpected rainfall, or temperature shifts in other parts of the world. In a world where the climate is already in a delicate state, weather manipulation could become a tipping point, accelerating problems we are only just beginning to understand. Long-term consequences for climate and society. The potential long-term impacts of weather control extend beyond environmental concerns. They touch on how societies operate, who has control, and the ethical framework within which we view the natural world. For instance, if governments develop the ability to control weather events, it could redefine the boundaries of political power. Nations with such technology would wield a tool that could affect global agriculture, water supplies, and even tourism, giving them an unprecedented level of influence over the world economy. But with this power comes a looming question. How would society adjust to a world where weather could be controlled? Public opinion on weather control is likely to be deeply divided. While some may see it as a necessary tool for disaster prevention, others may view it as a dangerous path, opening the door to new forms of environmental exploitation. The potential for unequal access to such technology could create tensions among nations, possibly igniting conflicts as countries scramble to secure their stake in weather manipulation capabilities. Long-term climate impacts also raise another key issue: the effect of these changes on natural disaster patterns. Hurricanes, tornadoes, and droughts have always existed, but if they become tools at the hands of a few, our relationship with the natural world could shift from one of coexistence to one of control. The age-old question of whether humanity should interfere with nature takes on new urgency in this context, challenging our values and sparking debate about the proper role of technology in our lives. Ethical and moral dimensions of climate engineering. The ethical implications of manipulating the weather reach deeply into the fabric of society, touching on fundamental questions about the moral boundaries of science and technology. Some proponents argue that in the face of climate change, we should use every tool available to protect people from extreme weather. However, this perspective opens up complex moral questions. Does humanity have the right to play guardian of the planet, intervening in natural processes that have existed for millennia? One major concern is the moral hazard that climate engineering introduces. If society believes it has a technological backup plan for managing weather events, will it reduce the urgency of addressing climate change at its root? This concept, known as moral hazard, suggests that by relying on weather control technologies, societies might become complacent, slowing down efforts to reduce carbon emissions and transition to sustainable energy sources. In the long run, this complacency could lead to even greater environmental damage. There are also equity security issues to consider. Wealthier nations are more likely to have access to advanced weather control technology, which could widen the gap between developed and developing countries. The risks associated with climate engineering, such as potential harm to ecosystems, changes in agricultural productivity, and shifting precipitation patterns, might disproportionately impact countries without the resources to defend against these consequences. Addressing these ethical dilemmas requires a careful balance of global cooperation and strict oversight to ensure that weather manipulation does not become a privilege of the powerful, leaving vulnerable communities to suffer the unintended consequences. The need for transparency and public accountability. And if Musk's claim has done one thing, it has sparked a conversation that governments and the public can no longer ignore. The idea of weather manipulation raises crucial questions about transparency, accountability, and the right of citizens to understand the actions taken in their name. In an era where public trust in institutions is fragile, the concept of governments wielding control over natural forces without public oversight is deeply unsettling to many. Imagine a future where citizens demand transparency regarding climate engineering and weather manipulation projects. There is a growing push for government agencies to make public any research or experimentation in the realm of weather modification, creating policies that emphasize the importance of public accountability. Such transparency would mean that the public is not left in the dark about projects that could fundamentally alter the environment, but it also requires that these policies clearly define limits on what can and cannot be done in the realm of weather control. Moreover, creating regulatory frameworks for weather manipulation would be essential to prevent its misuse. International guidelines, much like those created for nuclear power, could provide a baseline for ethical and safe applications of climate engineering technologies. With Musk's bold claim serving as a catalyst for public interest, we are now facing a potential future where governments must establish a code of ethics for weather manipulation, one that respects natural processes, human rights, and the fundamental principles of democracy. So, as we conclude this exploration into Musk's claim, we are left with big questions. If weather manipulation is indeed possible, how should it be used? Who should decide when and where it's appropriate? And how can we ensure that such powerful technology serves humanity's best interests without crossing lines that should never be crossed?